So, hello again, and welcome to week 6. We're going to talk today about chapter 3 of Genesis. We'll read the first little bit of it. This follows right after what we read last week when God made the first woman from the rib of the first man. This passage describes the first sin, what we talk about and describe as the fall. And then it talks about how this came to happen. So, Genesis chapter 3, verse 1 through 7. Now, the serpent was more crafty than any other wild animal that the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God say, 'You shall not eat from any tree in the garden?' And the woman said to the serpent, 'We may eat of the fruit of the trees in the garden, but God said, You shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, nor shall you touch it, or you shall die.' But the serpent said to the woman, 'You will not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.' So, when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made loincloths for themselves." Now, we'll talk next week about what the consequences of this are, but I want to talk a little bit now just about how it was that the woman was able to be tempted, because we have to understand she lived at the time, as we understand at least, in a perfect garden. She didn't have any needs, she didn't have any problems. So what was it that she wanted that she didn't already have that the serpent could use to tempt her? As she says herself, "We have plenty of food. I'm allowed to eat of the fruit of any tree in the garden except this one." So what is it that the serpent uses to tempt her? This is important. What he says is, God forbade you to eat from this fruit because he knows that if you eat that fruit, you will come to know good and evil, and your eyes will be opened so that you can understand good and evil, and that will make you like God. So the woman wasn't tempted so much by the knowledge of good and evil. She didn't know what that was. She didn't know what she was missing. It couldn't tempt her. What tempted her is the promise that she would become like God. Apparently, this is something that she wanted. Now, it's easy for us to criticize her, and it's right that we should criticize her. The desire to be independent of God, to be a God unto ourselves, this is a temptation that human beings, we still struggle with. We face this every day, every one of us. We want to be independent, we want to do and have what we want, and we don't want to be answerable to anyone for it. But at the heart of that, the thing to think about, the thing to marvel at, is that God made the man and the woman in his image and likeness. He made them to be like him. That's what the point was always supposed to be, of being a human being. It's supposed to be like God. The problem was that Eve seized that for herself out of time, which is to say not at the right time, and not in the right way. She did it by disobeying God, where that gift of being like God was supposed to be the natural result of communion with God, of relationship with God, of obedience and relationship with God. So, this is the point. Eve was tempted by what the serpent promised her because he was promising to give her something that was already her birthright. But he promised it at the wrong time and in the wrong way. And the result was it created sin. This is a principle that we can see in our own lives too. The things that we want at their core, at their heart, are good things. We wouldn't desire them if there wasn't something good about them at their core. But we also have to understand from this how easily good things can be twisted and perverted into something that will destroy us, and learn to receive good gifts from God in proper time. So, that is the fall. Next week we'll see the consequences, and on Wednesday we'll talk a little bit about how the fall relates to the Virgin Mary and the coming of Jesus Christ, which of course it has to, because it is the coming of the Lord that fixes what goes wrong in the fall of humankind. God bless you all. I'll see you Wednesday.